Imagine boarding a plane, expecting to arrive at your destination in just a few hours. But then, the aircraft simply vanishes. Without a trace. No distress call, no clear explanation, just gone. This is the story of Malaysia Airlines Flight MH370, one of the greatest aviation mysteries of all time. On March 8, 2014, a Boeing 777 carrying 239 people disappeared while flying from Kuala Lumpur to Beijing. Despite one of the largest search operations in aviation history, the plane's fate remains unsolved. Today, we'll break down the timeline, the evidence, the theories, and why Flight MH370 continues to haunt experts and families more than a decade later. Flight MH370 took off at 12:42 a.m. local time from Kuala Lumpur International Airport. Everything seemed normal. The aircraft climbed to cruising altitude and communicated routinely with air traffic control. At 1:19 a.m., the last voice transmission came from the cockpit. The pilot calmly said, "Good night, Malaysian 370. Just 2 minutes later, at 1:21 a.m., the plane's transponder stopped transmitting. This was highly unusual because it suggested that someone inside the cockpit deliberately switched it off. From that moment, the aircraft vanished from civilian radar. But military radar continued to track it. Instead of flying straight toward Beijing, MH370 made a sharp turn west, crossing the Malaysian peninsula and heading over the Andaman Sea. Then, at 2:22 a.m., military radar lost contact as well. Yet the story didn't end there. Satellite data from a company called Inmarsat showed that the plane was still active. For nearly 7 more hours, MH370 sent out automatic handshakes or pings to satellites. These signals indicated the aircraft was still flying, most likely deep into the southern Indian Ocean. At 8:19 a.m., the final ping was detected. After that, silence. Investigators concluded that the plane must have run out of fuel and crashed somewhere in the remote ocean. The disappearance triggered a massive international search effort. At first, the focus was on the South China Sea, where the plane was last seen on civilian radar. But when evidence pointed west, the search shifted thousands of miles away toward the southern Indian Ocean. More than 26 countries joined the search. It became one of the most expensive operations in aviation history, covering more than 120,000 square kilometers, an area larger than Poland. Teams used sonar, underwater drones, and satellite analysis. Despite all the resources, months turned into years and no wreckage was found. Families of the passengers grew desperate for answers and frustration turned into suspicion. Then, in July 2015, more than a year after the disappearance, investigators made a breakthrough. A piece of debris washed ashore on Reunion Island near Madagascar, thousands of miles away from the original search area. The fragment, known as a flaperon, came from the wing of MH370. Over the next few years, more pieces of wreckage turned up along the coasts of Madagascar, Mozambique, and Tanzania. Experts confirmed they belonged to the missing plane. But despite these discoveries, the main wreckage, the fuselage and the all-important black boxes remains missing. Without them, investigators can't determine exactly what happened during those final hours. And so, theories have flourished. The first major theory is pilot suicide. Some investigators believe Captain Zahari Ahmad Shah deliberately diverted the plane. Supporting this idea, a flight simulator found in his home contained a route similar to MH370's suspected final path into the southern Indian Ocean. Critics argue that no hard evidence links the captain to such an act, but the deliberate disabling of communications and precise turns suggest human intervention. The second theory is hijacking or terrorism. After all, in 2014 the world was still on high alert from various terror attacks. 2 passengers on MH370 were traveling with stolen passports, raising suspicions. But after extensive investigation, those passengers were found to be asylum seekers, not terrorists. And no group ever claimed responsibility for the disappearance. Something unusual, since terror organizations typically publicize their actions. Another theory involves catastrophic mechanical failure or fire. Some experts believe a sudden fire or cabin decompression could have incapacitated the crew and passengers. In this scenario, the plane might have continued flying on autopilot until it ran out of fuel. While possible, this theory does not explain the deliberate course changes after takeoff. Then there's the controversial idea that the plane was shot down accidentally, perhaps during a military exercise. History has seen similar incidents, such as Korean Air Flight 007 in 1983, which was shot down by a Soviet fighter jet. Supporters of this theory argue that governments may have covered up the truth to avoid international backlash, but once again, no concrete evidence has emerged to support it. Finally, a more modern theory suggests that MH370 could have been hijacked remotely. In an age of increasing cyber vulnerabilities, some analysts speculate that hackers might have accessed the plane's systems. While intriguing, most aviation experts reject this idea as unlikely, given the lack of supporting evidence. Behind all these theories are the human lives lost. 239 people, including 227 passengers and 12 crew members. Families from around the world, especially in China and Malaysia, have endured a decade of grief without closure. For them, the lack of answers has been the most painful part. Many relatives believe governments have withheld information, fueling suspicion and anger. Vigils, protests, and emotional appeals have kept the memory of MH370 alive in the public eye. The disappearance of MH370 also exposed serious weaknesses in global aviation safety. Before this tragedy, commercial aircraft were not required to transmit their location in real time. Communication between international agencies was slow, and coordination across borders was inefficient. The idea that in the 21st century, a massive Boeing 777 could simply vanish shocked the world. Since then, the aviation industry has made changes. Airlines are now required to track their aircraft more closely, and satellite-based monitoring has improved. But even with these advances, the wreckage of MH370 has never been located. And without the black boxes, we may never know what really happened that night. After years of searching, billions of dollars spent, and countless theories, the truth remains hidden beneath the waves of the Indian Ocean. Perhaps one day, the wreckage will be found, and investigators will finally unlock the mystery. Until then, Malaysia Airlines Flight MH370 remains one of the greatest unsolved mysteries of modern history. What do you think really happened to Flight MH370? Let us know in the comments below. And if you found this story as fascinating as we did, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe for more mysteries and unsolved stories, and share this video with a friend who loves a good mystery.